Welcome, everyone. This is our annual Smart Citytech Week 2021. This is our Venturous Group annual flagship event where we will be talking about deep insight technology that is reshaping the world's cities and economies. I'm Benson Tam, founder and chairman of Venturous Group, China's first Citytech group. We are on a mission to make cities smarter, first in China and later on around the world. And the way that we're going to do it is that we are going to apply technology, and we will apply it by first as an investor, secondly as a business builder of Citytech, and finally as an operator. Today's topic is smart buildings, and we have one very seasoned speaker and two panelists who will be joining us. And what we're going to do today is that we will let him do the presentation. We'll let Mark do the presentation. And then after that, will be followed by a fireside chat where the four of us will talk about everything about smart cities, smart buildings within smart cities. So let me start by introducing Venturous Group. Venturous Group was started about 2.5 years ago because we saw the huge opportunity that is smart cities. A recent report has already put a number to this emerging market at about $4 trillion in China alone, where there are 800 smart city districts. And that's why we are here to talk about the emerging market. It is also very interesting in the sense that within the smart cities, the biggest Lego block is the smart building. So without further ado, I will start by introducing today's speaker and panelists. So first of all, let me introduce Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Great. So Mark is the East Asia Digital Technology Consultant for Arab. And he is one of the leaders in terms of the Smart Building Initiative within Arab. So Mark, give us a sentence and tell us about yourself.
Actually, I have been working in Arab for over 15 years. So our team is called the Advanced Digital Engineering Team, and we are very focusing on providing the cutting edge smart building consulting and also the digital product development to the East Asia market. Yeah.
Great. So welcome, Mark. And let me introduce our first panelist, Alvin. Wave your hand, Alvin. Alvin is from AWS, Amazon Web Service, the cloud unit of Amazon. And Alvin is very relevant to what we are talking today because he actually focuses on real estate. Alvin, give us a sentence about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alvin. So I'm the industry leader for the property management in Hong Kong. So I'm quite focused on the building the PropTech solution on the cloud and support our smart city on developers initiative.
Great, thank you, Alvin. So our second panelist is Simon. Hi, Simon. So within the smart buildings, there are two major things that we will be talking a lot about. Number one is how do you use smart buildings to manage smart energy? So Simon is the global digital energy leader within Arab. The other thing that we also use within a smart building is, you hear a lot today from Mark, is the digital twin. And likewise, Simon is a digital twin leader. And Simon, so give us a bit of background about yourself. I believe are you sitting in Hong Kong now?
I'm joining you this morning from London.
Wow.
Simon Evans, I'm based in our London office, which is where I'm today. I'm also from Arup, and my role is I look after digital within our energy sectors, which means I look at how we can enhance and enable our design, delivery, and operations through the application of any internet era technologies. But as you introduced there as well, linked to that, I also look after Arup's response to what digital twins mean to us. And I'm an advisor to the UK government's programme on national digital twins, which is where we're looking to connect digital twins together into a whole countrywide twin and what value and benefit that can bring for society and the economy. So really glad to be joining you today.
Wow, thank you, Simon. Truly a global panel today. So without further ado, I will switch over and let Mark take the lead and take us down into the world of smart buildings. So Mark,
Okay.
all over to you.
Okay, thanks Benson and his team setting up the stage for us to share the views on smart building. And also thanks to the two friends, Simon and Alvin, to join the panelists. And I hope Benson's questions to you guys are not too challenging. Yeah, and smart building is an area that myself and the team in Hong Kong that have been working in the past 15 years. And definitely there's a lot of reflection and things to share. But one of the key perception is that there's no time nowadays that impose the urgency of transforming our building through technology. And because we as the citizen and human being on this planet, we are on a single and most important mission to save the planet by cutting the greenhouse emission and control the global temperature rise within 1.5 degrees. And we can't complete this mission without a major and fundamental change to our design and build and operate, how we operate the building. So that's my presentation today. So before we talk about the challenges, how we achieve this mission impossible, I would like to share with you a 2-minute video produced by Arup Foresight team. And it is our good wish on, this shows our good wish on how the future Hong Kong will look like. And I think later on, Benson can share his view on how is this different from his vision in terms of the Citytech. Okay, let's have a look at the video.
Smart cities are all about efficiency and intelligent design. Widespread consideration for the community and environment will influence all aspects of day-to-day life. Productivity and sustainability will go hand in hand. Everything in the future will operate on seamless data integration. Living spaces will be modular, adaptable, and energy efficient. Connected personal devices will act as a concierge that assists people in managing and automating facets of daily routines. Devices will interface with homes and appliances to cater to users' needs. Electrical vehicles will be able to charge as they drive upon an electromagnetic field on the road. Road surfaces will be able to repair themselves with new materials adopted into the system. Buildings in the future will be low energy, sustainable, and able to respond to future changes in climate, technology, regulation, and social behaviours. Underground transport hubs will be integrated with new building infrastructure. Real-time data feeds from IoT platforms display energy consumption, news, weather, and travel information. Community spaces will be equipped with sports, exhibition, cultural, and other co-sharing facilities. 3D printing can be used to customize building envelopes. Facade membranes can be developed to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen and to respond to different stimuli. Buildings will have connectors that form larger access networks between high-rises. Algae facades will produce biofuel for a building's operations. Food production modules will be integrated into buildings. Buildings can be constructed through the assembly of modular components upgraded and rearranged over time. Robotics can help with assembly work and maintenance. In high-rise buildings, micro-wind power can be used to generate energy. Elevated sightseeing platforms will be situated upon tall architectural structures. Solar panels will be installed on high-rises. Rainwater can be captured from roof catchments stored in reservoirs and treated to meet household needs. Smart cities will be devoted to life optimization. an all-encompassing philosophy that drives the new tech-rich economy and a progressive, responsible society.
And so actually, what we are trying to express in this video is that there's a lot of challenges how to achieve this mission impossible. This video covers a lot of our daily life. Some of them are getting close to reality, and some of them are not even close. But one thing for certain is that our city and area system shall be green, sustainable, and towards net zero. However, the race to achieve this net zero target is quite different among different sectors and industries. For example, if we use a vehicle as an example, they are gradually migrate from EV car to all the existing fossil fuel cars, which reach the end of their life. So they are migrating very gradually. But the migration path for a smart building is very difficult, and it's also very complicated. The reason we say that is it's actually a very big and wasteful sector. It's a very big market. The smart building actually accounts for 85% of our global CO2 emission and 30% of the global energy consumption. So therefore, it is actually a very big market. The second is like, just as example of the vehicle, we cannot just demolish all the building. There's a lot of existing building. So the technology, if the technology can only apply to our new building, it's going to be too slow and too little, not going to help our industry. And therefore, we believe we need a new technology framework, a new mindset to address this issue. So when we talk about Hong Kong as an example, 90% of our energy in our city is consumed by our building. And around another 66% of the electricity is also consumed by our building. As we expected, the electricity price will continue to go up, and there are increasing number of large corporations, corporate tenants like Arab pledged to become carbon neutral and even climate positive in 2030. It is expected to have a major reshuffle to the commercial market, where the energy efficiency and associated carbon emission performance of the building will become a key consideration to most tenants. And this will become their business overhead in terms of how to offset this carbon emission. So therefore, from our perspective, every building owner, they need to define a new strategy, how to achieve this net zero and decarbonize their building. They can either go for some high-hand fruit, what we call, to upgrade their building with a major capital works. For example, replace the facade, replace the chiller, replace the lift, or they can go for some low-hand fruits, like using the digital technology and embrace the smart building to help them to achieve some quick win and to save the energy. The smart building industry is actually evolving in the past 15 years from traditional automation building, what we call the building control system, into we have different type of IoT device generating data to become a more data-driven building. And recently, we see a lot of AI applications to enhance our building performance. And the definition of smart building is definitely changing, and is actually normally redefined regularly by the most advanced building in the city. So my next slide is going to show you a few more examples in Hong Kong and also in UK. What is the most advanced buildings we are expecting in the next couple of years? The first one I want to share with you is very iconic twins project in our Quarry Bay by one of the premium developers in Hong Kong. And the first building has been in operation since 2019, and the other one will have its first tenant in the next 9 months. So both buildings are designed to be highly energy efficient, with 30% more efficient compared to the beam pass and LEED baseline standard. From building architecture to hardware point of view, this also represents almost the best we can do when we design and build a new building. So this is great thanks to the Arab teams to provide the total engineering to these two projects. However, we are going to push the limit in the next 5 to 10 years to further reduce the energy of 35% by 2025 and 52% in the next 10 years. So we talk about the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And for your information, this is different categories of greenhouse emission. And scope 1, scope 2 mainly refers to the own facility emission, and scope 3 is main talk about the tenant activity, etc. So when we normally evaluate the greenhouse emission for smart building, we normally talk about the scope 1 and scope 2. And to achieve this target, and one of the key strategy is to fully embrace the data technology and analyze every single equipment of the building. A centralized digital twins platform has been implemented as the digital brain to manage this building. The digital twins platform is a virtual environment that connects the physical space, the digital access, and the next one is the human. It helps us to better understand the building performance, help us to improve the communication in terms of how we operate the building. And in the future, it helps us to better understand the human behavior in the building, better understand the tenants, and in order to provide them a better quality service. With the data platform and virtual digital twins environment, which consolidate huge amount of real-time data, structured and unstructured data, we can develop domain-specific analytics to optimize the building performance. So every dashboard you see here from this project is actually an integration of building engineering domain expertise, FM operation input, and as well as the input from the data science. From real-time situation awareness, cross-domain analysis, machine learning optimization, and forecasting into actionable insight. The next example is another project I have been working on, and it is very interesting and forward-thinking to our vision building. The design philosophy of this building is a people-oriented environment, social inclusive community with example environmental performance. So this is the building that is going to reshape the skyline of our East Kowloon and will become the hub of in the hub of the CBD. So in the project, there's a lot of data, a lot of systems that we all need to integrate into the single building. We need to have a universal digital platform in place to embrace the smart building operation. And this is what we call the digital brain of the building. And this is empowered by the neuron system, which I will further introduce. And sorry, I can play the video. Yeah. So actually, the digital brain is not just a concept, but is essential. It's a new technical framework to our building, from data connection, data processing, self-learning, and capability to continue update with this app store. And this app store will be a completely new concept for a new building, which decouples the data infrastructure with the application. as you don't expect the underlying infrastructure to update frequently for building because it's actually built for 15 years. So we will expect in the future, all the building will be working like our mobile phones with the Android system. Therefore, they can upload all the update all the apps during the building life cycle, but without changing the infrastructure. This is the new concept we introduced for the future smart building. And this is a completely new technical stack that we will provide it for the future smart building.
I'll just fill in the blanks. I mean, we are very, very excited about smart buildings because each is a Lego for the smart city. And another way that I would also say is that think about your mobile phone, think about your car. Now think about your building. And if you think about the fact that your Tesla car upgrades its own system every night, and it then go and record everything and all the operational data and send it for optimization almost by the second. The same as the mobile phone. If you think about that, then you suddenly realize how, I would say, almost archaic a building is. And yet a building is worth billions of dollars. It's meant to be, we spend easily 12 hours, 15 hours, perhaps even 20 odd hours in buildings. And yet buildings are so, in a sense, much more behind than the phone and the car.
I want to go back to this project. I think this is very interesting project. And this is examples which actually I'm working on in the past few years. It's actually a very interesting and forward-thinking buildings, very close to the Arab Vision building, shall we say. Yeah. So the design philosophy of this building is to create a people-oriented environment, social inclusive community. And as you can see from the video, it's actually an animation of the Arab Vision buildings. And for the real buildings, it has a high performance facade system with solar and glare responsive design. And it is also have the first automatic bicycle parking system in Hong Kong, and the first automatic refuse collection systems in Hong Kong, and the first PV farm at commercial buildings with over 15,000 square feet. So we also have a water conserving system to collect all the rainwaters in order to adjust to climate resilience. So this is a building that we think is very close to a vision building. And so that's come to the second slide, that in order to empower all the systems integrated into the single building, we need to have a universal digital platform. So in order to integrate all this building data into the central platform, and that is what we call the digital brain of the building. And the reason why we say that this is a digital brain is looks like the building is very similar to a human being. So we have the structure for the building, and we have the skeleton for our human being. We also have the HVAC system similar to the lung of our human being. And also we have a lot of pi ducts and neural cells sensing all the external factors. But at the heart of it is we need to have a brain, not the human being. The human being, we use the brain to respond to the external factor. We continue to learn. We also need to think. So this is what we think is lack of for the existing building. And that's why we need to have completely new technical stack to empower our smart building. And so this software framework of this software framework doesn't just apply to the new building, but our bigger mission is to help all the existing building, because as you can consider, every year there's only very minimum buildings in our city, but in Hong Kong we have 15,000 existing buildings. So if every existing building can be empowered by digital brain to help them optimize their performance, so even though the existing building doesn't have the hardware as the new building, but somehow this can contribute to our city when we are racing to the net zero target. The next example is we are putting this into practical steps and in order to help our city, not just for a single building. And this project is we working with one of the public sector clients, and who they are responsible for managing all the public buildings in Hong Kong with around 2,000. And we are working with them. We are sharing the same visions that the digital technology and data technology is one of the key strategy to help them to enable this energy saving for the existing building. And therefore, we create a digital platform, a digital twins platform, connecting the data from all the existing building. We are just finished the phase 1 project, and this project is very successful. It's actually demonstrating the concept we propose is practical, and it's very, it can give them a lot of quick wins to preserve the energy. The next one is from Simon. Actually, Simon is working in the London team. The Arab London team is working with the national energy to develop the digital twins from the national grid. So this is also some later on. Maybe Simon can talk a bit more on this project and to share what is going on in UK as compared to Hong Kong. And so actually we always been asked the same questions from clients and sometimes from Arab, is actually what exactly is digital for the building? Is it just BIM or is it just 3D visualization? So in fact, the underlying technology to empower our smart building is not just a single technology. It is actually an integration of many technologies. From physical access, you can see the IoT sensors, building system, the BIM model, into a data platform to do the data processing, data storage, and machine learning. And also we have a lot of different type of applications that will need to sit on top of this data platform. What we've seen in the past 10 years in the industry is that there's a lot of these new technologies emerging in the market, but none of them is able to address the full picture. And the fundamental issue is what is the future operating systems look like for our building. They all come from a bottom-up approach, but without an overarching vision on the future of our smart building. So that's why it comes to Arab's motivation to develop our own platform, which we call the Neuron. As the name stands, is actually our vision is to create a digital brain for our building from an overarching methodology. We are not inventing all the sensors, hardwares, because we believe there's a lot of partners we can work with. But the fundamental is the platform. And so our vision is to provide an open, highly adaptive platform, that this platform is not only applying to our new buildings, but it can also be very adaptive as a generic system to all our existing buildings. And that's why we also work with AWS, and Alphonse here today. So they are our strategic partner to empower this Neuron platform, enable to allow the majority of the existing building that can benefit from a platform. And our vision is to continue to enrich this platform, which can embed Arab domain expertise into this platform. in the future, the Arab service will not only limited in the physical world as a consultant, it will be also virtually accessible for all the buildings that install the neuron platform. So at the end, building is just a starting point. In order to save our planet, there's a lot of things we need to do. Buildings, aviations, bridges, railways, transport, hospital, and many other things. So we believe digital technology can all be the enabler for all these sectors to achieve their digital transformation and help our planet. Yeah. So that's my presentation.
Great, Mark. Wow. I especially like that one where you have the shape of the future building, and that building actually reminds me of something, which is that, remember in the old days, we think we used to all work in Kuntang, where factories were state of the art. And then everybody started going to offices in Central. Initially, very low rise, no elevators. Then elevators came. Then air conditioning came. Then underfloor wiring came. And I remember, 20, 30 years ago, none of the grade A buildings were ever called grade A buildings if you didn't have underfloor wiring, because all the investment banks want them. Now, you are painting me a picture that in the future, many of the buildings we are seeing today will become grade B because they are obsolete, unless they have elevators, air conditioning, and underfloor wiring, which in the next generation will be smart or having a brain. Tell us, what do you think in 10 years' time when people come to you for really a super duper grade A building? What do you think it'll look like?
I think 10 years is a bit long. I will say it's around 2 to 3 years time. And I think, as I said, the definition of the smart building is actually I think it's a relative concept, because it's subject to which one is the smartest building in that city. So if there's a building coming up in 18 months time that become the most advanced building in Hong Kong, so all the other buildings, they will become grade B, because you can see the significant difference between them. And that's why what we are seeing is there's a number of buildings, they are very ambitious to go to the market in I think it's 2 years time, even in 1 year's time. So therefore, at that time, I think it's a new timing for Hong Kong. And because even compared to some of the new buildings overseas, I think the buildings in Hong Kong in the next 2 years, I think they will be very competitive compared to other buildings, even in China and in other countries. So at that time, I think we will redefine the definition of smart building. And
I think that's you inspire me to think also, looking at your presentation and what you talked about, Mark, is that nowadays we expect our phones to upgrade every year. iOS 13, iOS 14, iOS 15, and everybody upgrades. So it sounds like to me, buildings in the future would certainly have the same, let's say, Neuron NOS 1, NOS 2. And if you are behind, then sorry, you are grade B. That's exciting. That's very exciting, because I think we are starting to get to be like the Tesla car that upgrades every night.
Yeah.
And phones upgrade the same. I remember Google says everything is, you don't even see the upgrade, because every time you go to the website, it's the latest upgrade by the nanosecond. I think likewise buildings are starting to be like that. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the major issue for all the building project is they they are becoming obsolete when they completed, because everything is designed.
Interesting. Yes.
In 10 years, in the past 10 years, so they always have a 10 years 90 amperes. They have designed for 10 amperes for 10 years. So when the building is is in operation, everything is becoming obsolete. So that's why we think we need to have a major transformation for how we design the building, how we operate the building with this upgradable operating system. So the building engineer, they can still do the groundwork, but let the digital guys do the digital work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will build on what you said, which is if you look at how the PC and then the mobile and everything else, everything is components.
Yeah.
And for, you can actually take out component and replace with a new version. And I think buildings in the future will be very much components.
Yes.
And it will be run by some sort of operating system. And we would take out a slot card, put in the next one, the latest one, and on almost every year, the upgrade, you have to do it because otherwise, everybody upgraded already and you haven't. So you're sort of falling behind. Now, I want to also talk a little bit about the fact that this is the whole city. I was struck, especially, Mark, when you show me that almost like map where, everything is very cyber.
Yeah.
And digital twin, and I'm sure we'll talk about this with Simon and Alvin, which is that we are basically able to X-ray the whole city. We would have, Superman eyes, right? And see every single little tiny component down to almost like microscopic, as well as the whole thing, all real time. Wow.
Yeah.
The whole city. I mean, this is going to be completely groundbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a lot of things need to do is actually how we can make all the buildings in the city be quickly adopting this system. Okay, not 10 years time, not 20 years time. It's actually a new way to make all the building downloadable. Okay, so at that time, I think we can transform the city. Because right now, a lot of project is actually government driven, capital work driven, and they last for too long. And when the project completed, it's becoming obsolete. So I think we definitely need a new framework to do that.
I like that. Obsolete the moment it's built, downloadable buildings, and I call it programmable cities. Well, with that, let's have our other two panelists join us. Let's welcome Alvin and Simon. Well, since Mark, you're with Arab, maybe I'll start with Alvin from AWS, our cloud expert. Now, Alvin, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Clearly, with all that data, it will be on the cloud. And with smart buildings, with all the data out there, I'm sure the first thing that people will ask you is, how do you stop somebody from hijacking and hacking that building? Just like, remember that movie, Die Hard, right? One Christmas, somebody hijacked the building. How do you stop that, Alvin?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So when we talk about how the AWS to protect the data, so we should typically define what kind of data we should protect. So for the smart buildings, so we typically can see two kinds of data. One is the historical data from those smart devices, and also enormous variety of data model from the different manufacturers. So first thing first, we talk about how we can inject the data, like the data in motion. We have to protect the data. So we have multiple ways to inject the data from multiple devices, IoT sensors, all the data being encrypted in motion. And also we collect this data into our SV, our data lake, and then we will do the data catalog for the analytics. For the data encryption or protection, so we provide the 98 security standard and compliance certification to make sure your data is being encrypted between the components and the microservices. And also the durability is really important. So we make sure your data, customer data put in AWS is very secure. We have a SLA, we have a committed the durability in 11.9, that means 99.999% durable in our platform. So this is our commitment to our customers.
Wow, amazing. So with that, I will switch to Simon. Simon, Mark talked about this national grid digital twin. We have a lot of keen listeners from one of our power utilities from Hong Kong. I'm sure they would love to hear from you as well.
Absolutely. And so National Grid, for those who aren't familiar, is an entity within the UK which manages and controls the energy system for the entire country. And what we're helping them do, and they're in the early stages of this at the moment, is define and work out how they could create a connected ecosystem of digital twins for the energy system, which would mean if you could have many small digital twins that make up the system from generation all the way through to consumption, they all connect together and information can flow between them all. How can that allow us to achieve better outcomes for the energy system and ultimately decarbonize and achieve our net zero targets? So there's a huge amount of thinking in that space, but it's really exciting because when you think about, and what you were saying then, Benson, on digital twins and connected cities, when you start connecting countries together,
wow,
and even planets together, and the excitement there, what that means is fantastic. So really early stages in that journey for National Grid, but a really exciting one that's been started.
Yeah, wow, Simon, I will build on what you said and what we in Venturous believe about the future smart cities. It's just most people still think of a city as what I call a blob, meaning it's one big thing. You know, we think about London as one big thing, Hong Kong, one big thing. I think in the future, what I call the landscape, the topology of smart cities will be very different. It will be, I call it hub and spoke. All the different cities are connected by, fiber optics, meaning that they're connected by light. So, for example, Hong Kong and London is not, 10,000 miles away, but 2 nanoseconds away by 5G, 6G, or whatever. Okay. So the cities will all be connected just like an internet. One big city is one big website, and then they're all connected. And I think in the future, cities will look like spider webs. It ain't going to be one blob. And that's the biggest thing I think people have not realized, which is that if, let's say, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, Beijing, Hangzhou are smart cities, we are each 3 nanoseconds away. If you're not, sorry, you're a dumb city. You're 10,000 miles away. And can you imagine the economic impact of not being 3 nanoseconds away and instead 10,000 miles away? You will be not just in the countryside, you might as well be outside the solar system in the new digital economy. That's why we're so excited about smart city. It will completely rewrite all the rules, right, Simon? I mean, it's just light speed versus, donkey speed.
That's when it gets really exciting, isn't it? Because a lot of the focus has been on individual cities, individual regions, or individual digital twins. When you connect them together and you start, in essence, recreating the internet of twins, or the twinternet, or the twin infrastructure. I'm sure there's many names you could use for that.
Okay, you're losing our audience now. I think a lot of people, even for me, Simon, when I first heard about digital twin, it took me so long to understand it. But maybe if I may give people a little bit of sort of analogy, is that a lot of people who are listening in were investors or at least have some sort of financial training. And therefore, everybody have a digital model, Excel spreadsheet. You do your thing, and then you do all the investing stuff, and it's the 2D model of a company, right? Like Thomas, my CFO, always say, yeah, in the old days, the whole financial industry was built on this 2D spreadsheet called an Excel. Without that, nobody can build anything like that. And now, in a sense, digital twin is the 3D model of the building. Just like recently, the tallest building in Beijing was delivered. I believe, Arab is connected. And the same day they delivered the physical building, they delivered the digital twin, the so-called 3D digital model, down to the every single component, real time, no joke, right? Live and real, right? So it's a 3D model, isn't it?
And
yeah,
a 3D model and so much more on top, as you say, of the power of having that information readily available to any asset owner, operator, any occupant of the building is immeasurable. In a sense, we understand today the value, but the value that could bring in the future with new use cases, new opportunities is fantastic.
So I would use this and say, Alvin, I mean, we talked about all this digital twin and cloud, within the digital twin, we are doing, we call live simulations. So just like in an Excel spreadsheet, you can do what if simulation on the financial impact. Likewise, digital twin, where you can do all of that. But you can only do that on the cloud, right? Because if I put my stuff on my computer and your stuff on your computer, nobody can simulate. Now, I mean, I want to ask you another question in that case, Alvin, which is that, in a sense, a lot of building owners have said, no, I don't want to share my data. My data is mine, and I'm going to hoard it, and none of you touch it. And then there is this idea, so they want to keep it on their premise, so completely separate from everything else. Whereas we are here talking about a cloud-based solution. How do you think about that? What do you tell this building owner? What should they do? Keep it on site, connect, risk it, or what?
Yeah, this is a frequently asked questions by my customer almost daily. So now the cloud is very mature. So you can imagine the virtual bank, some banking service, they are hosting the application, even the ERP in the AWS or other cloud provider. So we do provide the cloud security standard technology for our customers. For particular, the smart building, smart solutions, so it will be the game changer for you to host your whole solution on the cloud. Let me tell you the reason behind. So you can imagine the Shanghai Tower, which is one of the tallest building in the world. So I can see that there are huge amounts of data presented by these data, the sensors, the switch, the IoT devices. These are the real-time data, and sometimes you have to provide the real-time feedback to your users. So if you need to provide the real-time feedback analytics, so the huge, powerful machine is necessary. So this is what the cloud can provide to our customer and provider.
How big a data are we talking about, and how? Because just give our audience a flavor. How big is that data roughly for the Shanghai tall building? Roughly.
Yeah, when we're talking about the streaming data, that means the nearly real time. So it could be only the 2 or 3, 5 second delay. So you can imagine the server behind is very powerful for the analytics and do the analysis and give the feedback or notification back to our customer, the users. And also beside the real-time data, the analytics, the powerful resources, when you host your application in the cloud, so your developer can have agile development. That means you have a bunch of developers, maybe over the different city. they can do the part of the coding, upload, test, compile, and then run the project in the cloud, so that it turns out the customer, your consumer, can enjoy the very up-to-date application in anywhere. And also, last but not least, for the cloud, the SaaS model, you can scale out to the world without the limits. For example, AWS, we do provide the 191 content delivery network, the POP, over the world. So to make sure that your customer to connect to your service by the closest the data center we provide.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine this must be not even terabyte. It must be petabyte that you're talking about in terms of a data storage, right? I mean, it's just going to be massive because, as you say, real time, we have to keep all the records, and the raw data creates sort of, output data create inside data create knowledge data, operating data, just explosive. Yeah. So Mark, let me come back to you. And, we talked a lot about digital twin and smart cities and smart buildings and all that. How quickly do you think Neuron will go?
Well, I think Neuron is already there, and we are already experimenting a number of buildings in Hong Kong. And I think we are very quickly will reach to around 100 buildings in the next 18 months. So this is our target. Yeah.
100 buildings in 18 months.
Yeah, 100 buildings in 18 months. And then I think we are very confident to do that because we already see the passion of developers in Hong Kong and large developers with a lot of buildings. So Neuron is not, we are not doing building by buildings. Actually, this is, as you can imagine, this is actually a quick adoption system. So we are not talking about 5 years to implement a system to build a building. We are talking about a few days, even just a few months, to help the developers quickly adopt the Neuron system. So that's our target to achieve. Yeah.
Wow, that's great because in internet space, I think you have already, in a sense, started from, single building, project-based, several months. Yeah. And we are now iterating to the next level, which is several days.
Yes.
I know you and I talked about in the future, it will be several hours. And ultimately, our end game is that it should be downloadable, meaning zero. Yeah. Okay, we should be implemented with zero sort of friction, which is exactly how we think about it in platforms and internets and having been involved in Alibaba and all that, we always drive for that, zero cost, zero time, and start to build from there. And when the snowball starts rolling, like you said, 100. Then suddenly you have these almost like, grade A becomes grade A plus, grade B becomes grade B plus, and existing grade A becomes B plus. And before you know it, I mean, in internet speak, we say that then you're forced to do it because everybody else is doing it. So 18 months, 100. When do you think we'll get to 1,000 then? Let's be crazy in Hong Kong. Just I won't
Hong Kong actually, we have around 500 commercial building. I think that is our first target. So let's talk about, let's say 200, around 250, something like that. I think that's the target is in 3 years time, we will have 250 commercial building, because I think after the first 100 building, the next tier of building, I think we will need a bit of education cycle to help the developers to come across the learning curve. So,
yeah, I think, Mark, I mean, if you really do that in 3 years and you do half of all these sort of, commercial buildings, the grade A and grade Bs, I think you've started a revolution. The reason I say that is that it becomes a must-have in Hong Kong.
Yes.
When everybody would look at Hong Kong and say, oh, you know what? Hong Kong is the leader in smart buildings. And because your thing is for the whole city, they will also then say Hong Kong is the smart city. Because if all my buildings are smart, by definition, I'll be a smart city, right? And before you know it, suddenly, I'm sure everybody else will say, oh my God, for a start, all the Asian cities will also say, somebody found the road. Let's follow that path. Let's do exactly that. Correct? What do you think, Simon? If we throw down the gauntlet and say Hong Kong will be done with 250 buildings, half of all the buildings in 3 years. Let the race begin, right? Isn't that exciting, Simon?
Hugely exciting, and I think it's a natural thing we have to do, because in reality, if we're not making objective by that, all we're doing is setting ourselves up for a dumb future in some capacity. We need to be driving that success. We need to be making sure that all new buildings being designed and considered today are these concepts we've talked about, but also ones that are already in construction, because we don't, as you say, want them to go out of date and obsolete within a few years. The structure will be there, but if no one wants to use them because they're grade B, then that's just pointless.
Well, look at the factories in Kwun Tong, right? Do you want to be there? You don't, right? Well, actually, you actually raised a very interesting point, Simon. Exactly why Venturous want to partner with Arab. Because if there's one company in the world who can do that, I would bet my bottom dollar it's Arab. Correct? Isn't it?
Very much agree.
Tallest buildings, longest bridges. That's how I introduced Arab. I said, that's the company you think of, any tallest building, longest bridges in the world, they did it. In fact, I have an even more shameless way of describing Arab, the Google of construction. Because, honestly, Michael, my good friend, showed me an augmented reality sort of black and white version of Queensway MTR station about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you guys are working on augmented reality already. And when I go in and I looked at that, I said, Michael, Arab, what I see in the Arab office is not Arab, it is Google. Except that this is Google that actually can build stuff, right? So with that, I think this is very, very interesting. Thank you so much, all of you. And any final comments? One comment each on what you think is the most exciting thing about smart buildings. I'll start with Mark. One thing that you predict that is the most exciting thing about smart buildings.
I think smart building is the interesting thing is it's not just for single city. So anything we develop in Hong Kong, and given Arab is a global firm, we can quickly adopt the same model to other cities. Like what we are working with Simon's. Anything developed in UK, we can learn from Hong Kong. Anything Neuron, if we are successful in Hong Kong, therefore we have an ambitious target to expand to the global geographic. So I think there's no geographic restriction for us, for Neuron. And so I think it is actually something will be beneficial to everyone. Yeah.
Elvin?
Yes, I think it's amazing sharing from the teams. And what I heard from the customer in the past years, so there's a really huge demand for the digital twin, smart buildings, and all they are looking for the scalability, security. So I think the PropTech and the smart building and the cloud would be the better together and would be very good to scale out to the global in, I think, very short period of time, maybe the 1 to 3 years, we will see a lot of things will be happen.
Amazing. Simon?
So mine would be that many people compare the idea of connecting digital twins together to be as exciting for society as when we created the internet 30 years ago. Now, if we look at everything that's happened since then, and the fact we're now communicating, having this call on the internet, the social, business, financial ramifications to society have been massive. what does that mean then if we apply the same concepts to connecting our built environment? It's going to be huge. It's so exciting.
Well, thank you, Simon. So addressing all our listeners and audiences around the world, if you like what you saw today, well, the bad news is that you missed yesterday. So you must listen to Smart Computing yesterday, because that drove a lot of today's smart buildings. Now, tomorrow, we are going to build on what we said today, smart buildings. We are going to talk about smart city management. This is, it's almost eye-popping, because I think nobody really understands how advanced a lot of this smart city management is inside of China. And we will have the CEO of our Venturous group company that specializes in smart city management. And he will talk about, how he is partnering with Shenzhen to take over a very famous district, and that I think most of our audience would have heard about. And then on Thursday, to build on that even more, is smart energy. This is something that is going to, I think, be the trigger point, the killer app for starting the whole Internet of Things that will start the smart city. So that's on Thursday. And then on Friday, to wrap everything out, we are going to say, so how are we going to learn from everything we heard in the last 4 days on computing, buildings, city management, and energy, and put them all into context, into something that either you can invest with or take back and rethink within your company. So this will be Friday when we talk about, the implications of all of this revolution in the smart cities. With that, I'm Benson Tam. We are Venturous Group, China's leading Citytech group. And with all of that, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Alvin. And thank you, Simon. May the force be with us. Good night.